March 1945. A convoy of American soldiers rolled through the shattered remains of a small German town near the Rhine. What they found in the basement of a bombed-out hotel would haunt them forever. 12 women, hollow-eyed and trembling, who flinched when the soldiers approached. These weren't enemy combatants. They were prisoners of a different kind of war. The women had been forced into service by retreating Wehrmacht officers, kept in that basement for months. When Sergeant James Mitchell from Ohio opened the door, the youngest one, barely 20, screamed and covered her face. "Please, no more," she whispered in broken German. Mitchell froze. His rifle suddenly felt like a burden. He slowly lowered it and raised both hands. "We're Americans," he said softly, though he knew she might not understand. "You're safe now." But the women didn't believe him. How could they? Safety had become a foreign concept. Among them was Katharina Vogel, 26, from a village that no longer existed on any map. She had been a schoolteacher before the war consumed everything. Now she stood against the cold stone wall, her thin dress barely protecting her from the March chill, watching these new soldiers with the same terror she'd learned to wear like armor. "Katharina," one of the older women whispered beside her, "they have different uniforms." "Uniforms don't matter," Katharina replied, her voice flat. "Men are men." But then something unexpected happened. Mitchell turned to his unit and barked orders. Within minutes, soldiers returned, not with weapons, but with blankets. Heavy wool blankets that smelled like diesel and canvas, but were warm. A young private named Eddie Chen approached Katharina carefully, holding out a blanket like an offering. His hands shook slightly. "Ma'am," he said, his eyes respectfully lowered. "Please." Katharina stared at the blanket. It was such a simple thing, such an impossible thing. Her hand reached out, then pulled back. What was the price? There was always a price. This story continues as these women discover something they thought they'd lost forever. But Katharina carries a secret that could destroy the fragile trust beginning to form. A secret about what she did to survive. A secret that, if revealed, would turn even these kind Americans against her. Before we discover what Katharina is hiding, tell us where you're watching from. We love connecting with viewers from around the world who appreciate these powerful, untold stories of humanity during the darkest times. Eddie Chen didn't move. He just stood there, blanket extended, waiting. His patience was more unsettling than any threat. "Take it," Mitchell said from behind him, his voice gentle but firm. "No strings, just take it." Katharina's fingers finally closed around the rough wool. The weight of it, the simple, real weight, made her knees weak. When was the last time someone had given her something without demanding payment? "Thank you," she whispered in German, then hated herself for the gratitude. Gratitude was dangerous. It created debt. But Chen just nodded and moved to the next woman, offering another blanket with the same careful respect. One by one, the soldiers covered each woman. No touching, no demands, just blankets. Katharina wrapped herself tightly, feeling warmth for the first time in months. Around her, the other women were doing the same, their faces showing the same confusion she felt. "What do they want?" Anna, the youngest, asked in a trembling voice. "I don't know," Katharina admitted, "but don't trust it. Not yet." Mitchell was speaking into a radio now, his voice urgent. "We need medical supplies, food, and for God's sake, send women, nurses, anyone. These women have been through hell." 15 minutes later, more soldiers arrived carrying crates. The smell hit Katharina first. Bread. Real bread. Her stomach clenched painfully. She hadn't eaten anything but watery soup and moldy potatoes in weeks. A medic, older, with kind eyes and grey at his temples, knelt in front of the group. He opened a crate and began pulling out wrapped sandwiches, chocolate bars, tins of meat. "Please," he said in heavily accented German, "eat. Slowly. Your stomachs need time." He placed the food on the ground between them and backed away. Backed away. As if they were wild animals he didn't want to spook, as if their comfort mattered more than his authority. Anna lunged forward first, grabbing a sandwich with both hands. She tore into it desperately, tears streaming down her face as she chewed. Then the others moved, a careful, disbelieving surge toward the food. Katerina remained against the wall, watching. This had to be a trick, a new kind of cruelty. They would let the women eat, let them hope, and then— "You're not eating," Mitchell said suddenly beside her. She flinched, despite herself. He noticed and took a step back, giving her space. "I've seen this before," Katerina said in careful English, surprising him. "Kindness before the storm." Mitchell's jaw tightened. "There's no storm coming. I promise you that. Promises from soldiers mean nothing. Then judge me by actions, not words." He picked up a sandwich and a chocolate bar, placed them on the ground near her feet, and walked away. Katerina stared at the food. Her hands shook as she reached for it. The first bite of bread made her sob, a sound she quickly stifled, but the tears wouldn't stop. Around her, all 12 women were crying as they ate, the basement filling with the sound of grief and relief tangled together. But Katerina's tears carried a different weight, because she knew what the Americans didn't know yet. She knew about the letters hidden in the hotel's destroyed office upstairs. Letters she had been forced to translate. Letters containing information about American troop movements that had cost lives. She was a collaborator, and when they discovered the truth, these blankets and sandwiches would mean nothing. The Americans set up a temporary camp in what remained of the town square. They cleared rubble from a partially intact building and brought in cots, more blankets, a field stove that radiated blessed heat. For the first time in 8 months, Katerina slept on something that wasn't cold stone. But sleep wouldn't come. She lay rigid on the cot, listening to the other women's breathing gradually slow and deepen. Anna was curled up on the cot beside her, finally peaceful. So young, too young for any of this. "Can't sleep either," a voice whispered in the darkness. Katerina turned her head. It was Margareta, 43, who had been a nurse before the Wehrmacht officers found her village. She had kept them all alive with her medical knowledge and fierce determination. "Too quiet," Katerina whispered back. "I keep waiting for boots on the stairs. These Americans are different." "Are they?" Katerina's voice carried an edge. "Or are we just desperate to believe they are?" Margareta was silent for a moment. "That's Sergeant Mitchell. He posted guards outside, not to keep us in, to keep others out, to protect us. For now." Katerina, what happened to you? Before they brought you to that basement, I mean. You're different from the rest of us, harder." Katerina closed her eyes. "We all did what we had to do to survive. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have." Morning came with the smell of coffee, real coffee, and the sound of American voices outside. Mitchell appeared in the doorway, accompanied by a woman in a U.S. Army nurse uniform. The sight of another woman in authority made several of the German women visibly relax. "This is Lieutenant Sarah Morrison," Mitchell said in his broken German. "She's here to help. Medical examinations, if you're willing. Everything voluntary, everything private." Lieutenant Morrison stepped forward, her expression professional but warm. "I know you have no reason to trust us yet," she said in perfect German, surprising everyone. "My grandmother was from Hamburg. I understand your language and I hope something of your fear, but I promise you we're here to help, not harm." One by one, the women agreed to examinations. Katerina went last, her mind racing. The medical check would reveal the malnutrition, the bruises, the evidence of what had been done to them. But it wouldn't reveal her secret. Not yet. When her turn came, Lieutenant Morrison's gentle efficiency almost broke through Katerina's defenses. Almost. "You speak English," Morrison observed as she checked Katerina's pulse. "Quite well. I was a teacher, languages. That's a valuable skill." Morrison's eyes met hers. "Especially now. We need translators, people who can help us communicate with German civilians, help us understand what happened here." Katerina's blood went cold. "I'm not interested. I'm not asking you to decide now. Just think about it. You could help a lot of people." But Katerina knew the truth. If she became their translator, they would eventually discover what she'd translated for the Germans. The intelligence reports, the intercepted messages, the information that had led to ambushes and deaths. She had been forced to do it, yes, a gun to her head, threats against the other women, but would the Americans see it that way? Or would they see only a collaborator who deserved punishment? That afternoon, Mitchell approached her as she sat outside, wrapped in her blanket, watching American soldiers distribute food to German civilians. "Lieutenant Morrison says you speak English," he said, sitting down nearby, but not too close. He was always careful about distance. "We could use someone like you. I'm not a soldier. No, you're a survivor, and survivors understand things soldiers don't." He paused. "There are more women like you out there, in other towns, other basements. If you helped us communicate, we could find them faster, save them faster." Katerina's throat tightened. It was a brilliant trap, even if he didn't know it. Appeal to her conscience, make her want to help, and in doing so expose herself. "I need time," she managed. "Take all the time you need." Mitchell stood to leave, then turned back. "Katerina, whatever you're afraid of, whatever you think we'll discover, you're safe here. I give you my word." But his word couldn't protect her from the truth, and the truth was coming. Because that morning, she'd seen American soldiers entering the bombed hotel with equipment, preparing to search the ruins. The letters were still there, hidden, but not hidden enough. And when they found them, with her handwriting in the margins, her translations making German intelligence comprehensible, her time was running out. 2 days passed. 2 days of warmth, food, and kindness that felt like a beautiful lie. Katerina watched the other women begin to heal, begin to hope. Anna smiled for the first time. Margaret's shoulders lost some of their permanent tension. Even the oldest among them, Frau Weber, started humming while she ate breakfast, but Katerina couldn't let herself hope. She spent her time watching the hotel, waiting for the inevitable moment when the Americans would emerge with the evidence of her betrayal. On the third morning it happened. She was helping Lieutenant Morrison organize medical supplies when she saw Mitchell and 2 other soldiers exit the hotel carrying a metal box. Her heart stopped. She recognized that box. The Germans had kept important documents in it, locked in what remained of the hotel office. "Katerina?" Morrison's voice seemed to come from very far away. "Are you all right? You've gone pale." "I need air," Katerina managed, and walked outside on legs that barely supported her. She found a quiet corner behind the building and pressed her back against the cold wall, trying to breathe. This was it. They would open the box, find the letters, see her handwriting. They would know. "Hey!" Eddie Chen appeared around the corner carrying a canteen. "Lieutenant Morrison sent me. She's worried about you." "I'm fine." "You don't look fine." He offered the canteen. "Water helps, whatever it is." Katerina took it with shaking hands. Chen was young, maybe 22, with an open, honest face that made her want to scream. How could he be so trusting? Didn't he know what people were capable of? "Can I ask you something?" she said suddenly. "Sure. Why are you being so kind to us? We're German, your enemy." Chen considered this seriously. "My family is Japanese-American. We were put in camps back home. Internment camps, because of our faces, our names, not because of anything we did." His voice was quiet but steady. "I know what it's like to be judged for things you can't control, to be punished for someone else's war. But what if—" Katerina's voice cracked. "What if someone did do something? What if they had no choice, but they still did it?" Chen looked at her carefully. "I think there's a difference between choosing evil and surviving evil. The question is whether you can live with what you did, whether you do it again." Before Katerina could respond, Mitchell's voice called out, "Chen, we need you." Chen squeezed her shoulder gently, the first time any of the Americans had touched her, and jogged away. Katerina stood alone, his words echoing in her mind. Could she live with what she'd done? She'd had no choice. The German officer had been clear. translate the intercepted American communications, or watch the other women die one by one. She'd chosen survival. She'd chosen to save the women in that basement by sacrificing soldiers she'd never met. But those soldiers had families, had people who loved them, had futures that her translations had stolen. She walked slowly back toward the main area, her decision crystallizing. She would confess. Before they found the letters, before they discovered the truth on their own, she would tell Mitchell everything. At least then she would have chosen honesty, even if it came too late. But when she rounded the corner, she saw something that stopped her cold. Mitchell was standing with the metal box open, papers spread on a makeshift table. But he wasn't reading them. He was burning them. One by one, he was feeding documents into a barrel fire, watching them curl and blacken and disappear. "Sir," one of his soldiers questioned, "shouldn't intelligence see those first?" "These are personal letters," Mitchell said firmly. "Private correspondence. These women have been through enough without having their words read by strangers. Some things deserve to burn." He didn't know. He thought they were personal letters. He was destroying the evidence of her collaboration to protect their privacy. Katerina's knees gave out. She sat down hard on a pile of rubble, watching her sins turn to ash. She was being given a gift she didn't deserve. A second chance she hadn't earned. But the relief lasted only seconds before new horror set in, because she saw, clutched in Mitchell's other hand, one letter he hadn't burned yet. One letter with her handwriting clearly visible even from this distance. He was reading it. His expression was changing, and when he looked up and his eyes found hers across the square, she knew. He knew. Mitchell folded the letter carefully and walked toward her. Each step felt like a countdown. Katerina forced herself to stand, to meet whatever was coming with dignity. She owed the women in that basement at least that much, to face the consequences without cowering. "Katerina," Mitchell said when he reached her. His voice was unreadable. "We need to talk. Privately." She nodded, unable to speak. He led her away from the square, toward a partially collapsed building that offered shelter from curious eyes. Lieutenant Morrison watched them go, concern evident on her face. Inside, Mitchell leaned against a broken wall and studied the letter in his hands. The silence stretched unbearably. "I can explain," Katerina finally said. "Can you?" Mitchell's voice was tired, not angry. Somehow that was worse. "Because this letter, your handwriting is in the margins, translating American radio communications, troop movements, supply routes. They had guns to our heads. I believe you." He looked up at her and she saw something unexpected in his eyes, not hatred, but pain. "My brother died 3 months ago. Ambush outside Remagen. His convoy was hit because someone knew exactly where they'd be and when." Katerina's breath caught. I don't know if it was—" "No, you don't know. That's the hell of it, isn't it? You don't know which of your translations killed which soldiers. Could have been my brother. Could have been Chen's cousin. Could have been nobody we know." He ran a hand through his hair. "But it was somebody's brother. Somebody's son. I know." Her voice broke. "I know. And I have to live with that. But they would have killed Anna. Killed Margaret. Killed all of them if I refused." "What would you have done?" "I don't know," Mitchell admitted. "And that's the only honest answer I can give you." He was quiet for a long moment, staring at the letter. Then, slowly, deliberately, he walked to a pile of debris where small flames still flickered from someone's earlier fire. He held the letter over the flames. "Wait," Katerina said. "What are you doing? What needs to be done?" The paper caught fire, curling and blackening. "You were forced. You saved lives. And punishing you now won't bring back the soldiers we lost. But the army, your superiors, will never know. As far as anyone is concerned, we found nothing but personal correspondence, which I destroyed to protect the privacy of traumatized women." He met her eyes. "That's the official story. That's the only story." Katerina couldn't process what was happening. "Why? Why would you do this?" "Because I've seen enough death. Because those women in there are starting to heal, and they need you. Because my brother wouldn't want his death to cause more suffering. Mitchell's jaw tightened. And because I think you've been punished enough. I see it in your eyes every time you look at us. You're already serving a life sentence. Tears streamed down Katerina's face. I don't deserve this. Probably not. But deserving has nothing to do with it. This is about choosing who we want to be going forward. He paused. The war's almost over, Katerina. Germany's collapsing. In a few months, maybe weeks, this will all be done. And then what? More revenge, more punishment, more death? Or do we try something different? I don't understand. I'm offering you a choice. You can turn yourself in, confess everything, face whatever consequences come. That's your right. Or you can take this second chance and use it, help us find more women like you. Translate for us, yes, but this time to save lives instead of ending them. Be the person you wanted to be before the war made you into someone else. Katerina stared at him. You're asking me to work for you? I'm asking you to work for them. He gestured toward the square where the other women were. For every woman still trapped in basements and camps. For every civilian who needs help navigating what comes next. You have skills, Katerina. Use them for something good. And if I can't? If every time I translate I remember what my translations cost? Then you remember. You carry it. But you don't let it stop you from doing good now. Mitchell's voice softened. Guilt is easy. It lets you wallow. Redemption is harder. It requires you to actually do something. Before Katerina could respond, Chen appeared in the doorway, breathless. Sergeant, we've got a situation. German civilians are reporting another group of women, maybe 20, held in a factory basement about 5 miles east. But there are still Wehrmacht deserters in the area. It's dangerous. Mitchell looked at Katerina. Well? You want to help save them, or you want to keep drowning in what you can't change? Katerina wiped her tears and straightened her shoulders. I'll help. Tell me what you need. The factory loomed against the grey sky, its windows shattered, its walls pockmarked with bullet holes. Mitchell's unit approached carefully, weapons ready. Katerina rode in the lead jeep, her stomach churning with fear and purpose tangled together. Stay behind us, Mitchell instructed as they dismounted. If shooting starts, you hit the ground. Understood? Understood. But as they approached the factory entrance, a voice called out in German from inside. Come closer and we shoot the women. We have hostages. Mitchell cursed. What's he saying? Katerina translated, her voice steady despite her racing heart. He says they have hostages. They'll shoot if you advance. How many men? Katerina called out in German. How many of you are there? A pause, then, enough. We want safe passage, vehicles, food. Then we release the women. She translated for Mitchell, who shook his head. Not happening. We don't negotiate with... Wait, Katerina interrupted. Let me talk to them, soldier to soldier, German to German. You're not a soldier. No, but I understand them. I know what they're feeling right now, trapped, desperate, knowing the war is lost but too afraid to surrender. She met his eyes. Let me try, please. Mitchell studied her for a long moment, then nodded. 5 minutes, but at the first sign of trouble we're coming in. Katerina walked toward the factory entrance, her hands raised and visible, her heart hammered against her ribs. This was insane. These were desperate men with weapons and nothing to lose. I'm coming in, she called in German. I'm unarmed. I just want to talk. Stay where you are. I'm a German civilian. I was held by Wehrmacht officers for 8 months. I know what you're going through. I know you're scared. Silence. Then, come forward, slowly. Hands where we can see them. She entered the factory. The smell hit her first. Unwashed bodies. Fear. Desperation. In the dim light, she could see 3 German soldiers, young and hollow-eyed. Rifles pointed at a group of women, huddled against the far wall. The women looked even worse than Katerina's group had, skeletal, brutalized, barely conscious. The soldier nearest her, he couldn't have been more than 19, kept his rifle trained on her chest. What do you want? To help you survive the next hour, Katerina said calmly. Because right now you're making choices that will get you killed. We want safe passage. There is no safe passage. The war is over. Germany has lost. You know this. She took a careful step closer. But you can still choose how your story ends. You can die here, taking innocent women with you. Or you can surrender, face justice, but live. Maybe even go home someday. They'll execute us, another soldier said, his voice breaking. We've done things, maybe not. But I can tell you what will definitely happen if you don't surrender. Katerina's voice hardened. Those American soldiers outside will come in. They will kill you. And some of these women will die in the crossfire. Is that what you want? More death, more innocent blood? The young soldier's rifle wavered. How do we know they won't just shoot us anyway? You don't. That's called faith. That's called choosing to believe that maybe, just maybe, there's still humanity left in this world. She paused. I was forced to work for Wehrmacht officers. I translated intelligence that got American soldiers killed. And you know what? The Americans outside showed me mercy. They gave me a second chance. Maybe they'll give you one too. Why should we trust you? Because I'm standing here, aren't I? If the Americans wanted you dead, they would have sent bullets, not a woman with words. Katerina took another step forward. Please, let these women go. Surrender. Choose life over death. Choose to be something other than what the war made you. The soldiers looked at each other. The tension was unbearable. Then, slowly, the youngest one lowered his rifle. I'm tired, he whispered. I'm so tired of all of this. I know, Katerina said gently. We all are. So let's end it. Right here, right now. No more death today. One by one, the other soldiers lowered their weapons. Katerina turned toward the entrance and called out in English, Mitchell, they're surrendering, don't shoot. The Americans entered cautiously, weapons ready but not firing. Mitchell's eyes found Katerina's, and she saw something like respect there, maybe even pride. Within minutes, the German soldiers were disarmed and secured. The women were being carried out to waiting medics. Lieutenant Morrison appeared at Katerina's side. That was incredibly brave, Morrison said, and incredibly stupid. Probably both, Katerina admitted, her hands finally starting to shake now that the adrenaline was fading. Mitchell approached, his expression serious. You saved lives today, American and German. That counts for something. Does it balance the scales? No, but it's a start. He paused. We've got reports of 3 more locations, women being held, civilians trapped. We could use your help. Katerina looked at the women being loaded into trucks, wrapped in blankets, given food and water. She thought about Anna's smile, about Margaret's healing shoulders, about the choice Mitchell had given her, guilt or redemption. I'll help, she said, for as long as you need me. Over the next 3 weeks, Katerina became indispensable. She translated for medical staff, negotiated with frightened German civilians, helped locate and rescue 17 more women from various Wehrmacht holdouts. She worked 18-hour days, driving herself to exhaustion, as if she could somehow work off the debt of her past. But late at night, alone in her cot, the faces of dead American soldiers haunted her. She didn't know their names, didn't know which of her translations had killed which men. But she saw them anyway, imagined them, young men like Chen, like Mitchell's brother who would never go home. You're going to burn yourself out, Lieutenant Morrison said one evening, finding Katerina still working by lamplight, translating supply requests. You need rest. I need to be useful. You are useful, but you're also human. Morrison sat down beside her. Can I tell you something? About my grandmother? Katerina nodded, too tired to speak. She left Germany in 1938, saw what was coming and got out. But her sister stayed. Her sister believed it would get better, that good Germans would stop the madness. Morrison's voice was soft. Her sister died in a camp, and my grandmother spent the rest of her life wondering if she could have done more. If she should have stayed and fought instead of running. What's your point? My point is that guilt is a hungry thing. It will devour you if you let it. My grandmother let it. She died angry and broken, punishing herself for surviving when her sister didn't. Morrison met Katerina's eyes. Don't make her mistake. You can't change what happened. You can only choose what happens next. I'm trying. I know, but trying doesn't mean destroying yourself. It means finding a way to live with what you've done and still do good in the world. Morrison squeezed her hand. The women you've helped rescue, they're alive because of you. That matters. Before Katerina could respond, Chen burst into the room. We've got a problem. Big one. His face was pale. Intelligence found records. Wehrmacht documents about forced labor, about women used for... He glanced at Katerina. Your name is in the files. They're asking questions. Katerina's blood went cold. What kind of questions? About your role, about what you did, about whether you were coerced or complicit. Chen looked miserable. Mitchell is trying to run interference, but there are officers from higher up. They want to interview you, officially. This was it. The reckoning she'd been waiting for. Mitchell had burned the letters, but there were always more records, always more evidence. The past never stayed buried. When? She asked quietly. Tomorrow morning. 800 hours. Chen hesitated. Katerina, if you run, I wouldn't blame you. The chaos right now, you could disappear, start over somewhere else. No. Katerina stood, her decision made. I'm done running, done hiding. If they want the truth, I'll give it to them, all of it. Even if it means prison or worse. Even then. She managed a small smile. Someone recently told me that guilt is easy, redemption is harder. Time to find out if I'm strong enough for the hard path. That night, Katerina couldn't sleep. She lay awake, thinking about the choice ahead. She could run. Chen was right about that. In the chaos of Germany's collapse, one woman could vanish easily. She could create a new identity, a new life, bury Katerina Vogel and her sins forever. But she would know. She would always know. And she was tired of carrying secrets. At dawn, she dressed carefully in the clean clothes the Americans had provided. She braided her hair, washed her face, and looked at herself in a cracked mirror. The woman staring back was thinner than she remembered, harder, with eyes that had seen too much. But she was still standing, still fighting. Mitchell was waiting outside when she emerged. You don't have to do this, he said. I can tell them you're too traumatized for questioning. Buy you time. Time for what? To run? To hide? Katerina shook her head. No, I'm ready. Whatever happens, I'm ready. For what it's worth, I'll testify on your behalf. Tell them what you've done these past weeks. The lives you've saved. Thank you. But I think we both know that won't be enough. She paused. Mitchell, if they decide to prosecute, if they send me to prison or worse, will you make sure the women are taken care of? Anna, Margaret, all of them. You have my word. Then I can face whatever comes. The interview room was a commandeered office in what had once been a German administrative building. 2 American officers sat behind a desk, a colonel and a major, both with expressions that revealed nothing. Fräulein Vogel, the colonel said in English, please, sit. Katerina sat, her back straight, her hands folded in her lap. Mitchell stood against the wall behind her, a silent presence. We have some questions about your activities during the German occupation, the major began. Specifically, about your work translating intelligence documents for Wehrmacht officers. I understand. Did you or did you not translate intercepted American communications for German military personnel? Katerina took a breath. This was the moment. Truth or lies, redemption or damnation. Yes, she said clearly. I did. Nay, the colonel's expression didn't change. You admit to providing intelligence to enemy forces that directly resulted in American casualties. I admit to translating documents while under duress, while being held captive, while watching other women be beaten and threatened with execution. Katerina's voice remained steady. I was given a choice. Translate or watch innocent women die. I chose to save the women I could see over the soldiers I couldn't. That's a convenient rationalization. It's the truth. Not convenient, just true. She leaned forward. Do you have children, Colonel? That's not relevant. It is, because if you do, you understand that sometimes there are no good choices. Only terrible ones and slightly less terrible ones. I made the choice I could live with, or thought I could. The Major consulted his notes. According to Wehrmacht records, you were initially detained in February 1944, but you weren't moved to the basement location where you were found until August. What happened during those 6 months? Katerina's hands clenched. This was the part she'd hoped to avoid. I was held in a different location, a Wehrmacht command post. They discovered I spoke English and Russian. They needed a translator. And you agreed? I refused. So they took one of the other women, a girl named Sophie, 17 years old, and they beat her in front of me. They broke her arm. Then they asked again. Katerina's voice cracked. I agreed. How many documents did you translate? I don't know, dozens, maybe hundreds. They came in constantly. Intercepted radio communications, captured letters, intelligence reports. I translated everything they gave me. And you never tried to sabotage the translations, provide false information. Once. Katerina closed her eyes, remembering. I mistranslated a supply route. Made it seem like American trucks would be in a different location. I thought I was being clever, thought I could save lives. What happened? They had someone else check my work. A German officer who spoke English. He caught the error. She opened her eyes. They killed Sophie. Shot her in front of all of us. Said that was the price of betrayal. Then they asked if I wanted to try lying again. The room was silent. Even the Colonel's expression had softened slightly. After that, Katerina continued, I translated accurately, because I understood that my small acts of resistance would only get more people killed. So I saved who I could, the women in that basement, and I lived with the cost. Mitchell spoke from behind her. Sirs, if I may, Fräulein Vogel has spent the past 3 weeks helping us rescue over 50 women from similar situations. She's risked her life multiple times, negotiated with armed deserters, and provided invaluable intelligence about Wehrmacht holdout locations. Her actions since liberation have been exemplary. That doesn't erase what she did before, the Major said. No, but it shows who she is when given a choice, when not operating under threat of death. Mitchell's voice was firm. We've prosecuted collaborators who acted willingly, who profited from their cooperation with the enemy. Fräulein Vogel was a prisoner, a slave. Punishing her sends a message that victims should choose death over survival. The Colonel studied Katerina for a long moment. What do you think should happen to you, Fräulein Vogel? I think I should be held accountable, Katerina said quietly. I think the families of the soldiers who died because of my translations deserve justice. I think I should face consequences for my actions, even if those actions were coerced. She paused. But I also think I should be allowed to try to make amends, to spend whatever life I have left doing good, to save more lives than I cost. And if we decide that's not enough, if we decide you need to face trial, then I'll face trial. I won't run, I won't hide. I'll tell the truth and accept whatever judgment comes. Katerina met his eyes. I'm done being afraid. Fear made me into someone I hated. I won't let it control me anymore. The Colonel and Major exchanged glances. Some unspoken communication passed between them. We'll need time to review your case, the Colonel finally said. You'll remain in American custody. Sergeant Mitchell, she's your responsibility. Don't let her out of your sight. Yes, sir. As they left the office, Katerina felt oddly light. The truth was out. The worst had been said. Whatever happened now, at least she wasn't carrying the secret anymore. That went better than I expected, Mitchell said as they walked back toward the camp. Did it? They're still deciding whether to prosecute. But they're deciding. They didn't arrest you on the spot. That's something. He glanced at her. You were brave in there, honest. That counts. Does it? With me? Yes. With them? He shrugged. We'll find out. 3 days passed. 3 days of waiting, working, trying not to think about military tribunals and firing squads. Katerina threw herself into helping the rescued women, teaching them English, helping them write letters to families they hoped were still alive. Anna had started smiling regularly now. Margaret was talking about becoming a nurse again after the war. Even Frau Weber, who had barely spoken for weeks, was beginning to tell stories about her life before. On the fourth day, Mitchell found Katerina in the medical tent, helping Lieutenant Morrison organize supplies. "They've made a decision," he said. Katerina's heart stopped. "And? No prosecution. They've classified you as a victim of forced labor, operating under duress. You're free to go." He paused. "But there's a condition." "What condition?" "You continue working with us, officially, as a civilian translator and liaison. Help us process displaced persons, locate more victims, assist with reconstruction efforts. Basically, keep doing what you've been doing, but with paperwork and a salary." Katerina stared at him. "They're offering me a job. They're offering you a chance. Take it or leave it." She thought about Sophie, about the soldiers who died because of her translations, about the women she'd helped rescue, about the choice between guilt and redemption. "I'll take it," she said. "For as long as you'll have me." Mitchell smiled, the first real smile she'd seen from him. "Welcome to the team, Fräulein Vogel. Now let's go save some more lives."